What still bothers me the most isn't what happened that night, or even what could have happened. It's how it started, because I never joined that group. There was no invite link, no notification saying someone added me, no friend messing around, nothing. I just woke up one morning, grabbed my phone like I always do, and there it was sitting in my messages like it had always belonged there. A group chat with no name, no image, just a blank gray icon. At first I thought it was one of those random spam groups that somehow slipped through, the kind you ignore and delete without thinking twice. There were about a dozen people inside, but none of them had names, just numbers. No profile pictures, no bios, nothing human about them. But what stood out were the messages. There were already a lot of them, and none were from me. I scrolled up expecting nonsense. Links, scams, bots pretending to be real people. But instead, I found conversations that felt normal. Uncomfortably normal. The kind of conversation you'd expect from people who already knew each other well enough to skip introductions. There were no emojis, no jokes, no filler. Just short, direct messages, like they were coordinating something. They talked about time, about meeting, about not being late again. At first, I assumed it was a mistake. Maybe someone added the wrong number. That happens. So I typed a quick message, something simple, told them I didn't think I was supposed to be there. No one replied, not even a scene. And yet the conversation continued, completely ignoring me, like I wasn't part of the group at all. It wasn't even like being excluded. It was like being invisible. I stared at the screen for a while, waiting for someone to acknowledge me, but nothing changed. Eventually, I just set my phone down and went on with my day, telling myself I'd leave the group later. I didn't. I forgot about it completely, until that night. It was around 2:40 in the morning when my phone buzzed again. I was half asleep when I reached for it, expecting something unimportant, maybe a notification I could ignore until morning. But when I opened the chat, the tone had changed. The messages were fewer, but heavier somehow. Someone said it was almost time. Another asked if everyone was ready. Then one message appeared that made me pause longer than I should have. He's active. I remember staring at those words, trying to make sense of why they bothered me so much. It was vague, but it felt specific at the same time, like it was meant for someone. Before I could decide whether I was overthinking it, another message came through telling everyone not to say anything yet. I didn't reply. I just watched the chat. Then, for the first time since I'd been added, someone directly tagged my number. The message said to wait until I left. That was the moment everything started feeling wrong. I typed back immediately, asking who they were, what this was, why I was in there. But it didn't matter. There was no response, just more messages appearing, as if I hadn't spoken at all. Someone repeated that it wasn't time yet. I didn't think about it any longer. I left the group right then and there, locked my phone, and tried to go back to sleep. But I couldn't shake the feeling that I had seen something I wasn't supposed to. The way they spoke, it wasn't confusion or coincidence. Like I had stepped into the middle of something already in motion. When I checked my phone again a little after 3, the group was gone. I convinced myself it had to be some kind of glitch, something explainable. And eventually I managed to push it out of my mind for about a week. Then almost at the same time as before, everything came back. But this time it wasn't just on my phone. I was home alone that night. It was quiet, the kind of quiet you don't notice until something breaks it. I heard a sound near the front door, soft, easy to dismiss if I hadn't already been on edge. At first I thought it was nothing, maybe the house settling or something outside. But then it happened again. A small movement right outside my door. I didn't move, I just sat listening, every part of me focused on that space between me and the door. Then my phone buzzed. I didn't need to check it to know what I would see. The group chat was back. Same blank name, same everything. This time there was only one message waiting for me. Now! I felt my chest tighten as I read it, like my body understood something before my mind could catch up. Another message appeared almost immediately after. Go. And at that exact moment, the door handle moved. Not violently, not like someone trying to break in, but slowly, carefully, like someone testing whether it was locked. Every instinct told me to stay quiet. I stood up as silently as I could and backed away from the door, barely breathing. My phone buzzed again in my hand, and even though I didn't want to look, I couldn't stop myself. They were talking again, asking why I wasn't moving, saying I was inside, then saying I knew. That was when I turned off all the lights, not just the one in the room, all of them. I don't even remember deciding to do it. My hands were shaking, but I forced myself to stay silent, standing there in the dark while the handle moved again, just slightly, before going still. I don't know how long I stayed like that. Time didn't feel real in that moment. It could have been seconds or minutes. Eventually, the movement stopped. No footsteps, no sound of someone leaving, just silence. I didn't sleep. I didn't check the door. I didn't do anything except wait for daylight. When the sun finally came up, I worked up the nerve to look outside. There was nothing there. Later that day, I checked my phone again. I didn't find the group chat, this time for good. But what scared me, what I can't explain, what I can't ignore, is that they never asked where I lived. They never tried to figure anything out. It felt like they already knew, and they were waiting for that night. It felt like they expected me to do something I didn't do. And I've had this feeling ever since that the only reason I'm still here is because I didn't. This happened a few months ago, and I still don't fully understand how it was possible. I've tried to come up with logical explanations, something technical, something harmless, but none of them really fit. The only reason I'm even telling it now is because it hasn't happened again. At least not in the same way. It started with a message I almost missed. It came in sometime during the afternoon while I was at work, buried under notifications I didn't bother checking at the time. It wasn't until later that night, when I was lying in bed scrolling through my phone, that I noticed it sitting there from an unknown number. No name, no previous conversation, just a single message waiting to be opened. It said, I type slow. No punctuation, no context, nothing to suggest it was meant as a joke. Just a blunt observation from someone I didn't recognize. At first, I assumed it was a wrong number or someone messing around. The kind of random message you ignore without thinking too much about it. So that's exactly what I did. I locked my phone and went back to what I was doing. About 10 minutes later, another message came through from the same number. This one asked if I was still there. That's when it started to feel off. Not because of what it said, but because of the timing. I hadn't replied, hadn't even opened the conversation again after seeing the first message, so there was no reason for whoever it was to follow up. It felt less like a mistake and more like someone expecting a response. I opened the chat again and started typing, asking who it was. I didn't send it right away, though. Something made me hesitate, like I needed to think about it for a second before responding. And before I could decide, another message appeared. It told me not to. I just stared at the screen, then slowly deleted what I had typed without really knowing why. It didn't make sense to listen to it, but I did anyway. After that, nothing came through. No explanation, no follow-up, just silence. I tried to brush it off as someone playing a weird game, maybe sending random messages and getting lucky with the timing. But the whole thing stuck in the back of my mind longer than it should have. The next day I was at home, sitting on my couch and scrolling through my phone again, when the same number sent another message. This time it said I was doing it again. I didn't respond. I didn't even open the keyboard. I just stared at the screen, trying to figure out what it meant. Then locked my phone and set it down beside me. About a minute later, it buzzed again. The message simply said, "Better." That was the moment it stopped feeling like a joke. I remember picking up my phone again and instinctively looking around my apartment, even though I knew there was nothing to see. The door was locked, the windows were closed, and everything was exactly the way it should have been. There were no sounds, no movement, nothing out of place. But the feeling was there now, creeping in the background. The sense that something was paying attention in a way it shouldn't have been able to. I opened the conversation and read through the messages again, trying to make sense of the pattern. It commented on my typing, followed up when I didn't respond, stopped me before I could send a message, and now it was reacting to what I was doing in real time. I decided to test it. I started typing a response, watching the screen as I did. I wrote a single word, asking how, and just like before I could even think about sending it, another message appeared. It said I was about to ask how. I dropped my phone onto the couch immediately, like I touched something hot. I didn't pick it up for a few seconds. I just stared at it, my mind trying to catch up with what had just happened. Then it buzzed again. It told me not to worry. That made it worse, because now it didn't feel random at all. It felt controlled, like I was part of a conversation I wasn't actually participating in. I picked my phone back up, but this time I didn't type anything. I didn't even move my fingers. A moment later, another message came through. It said, "Good." That was enough for me. I powered the phone off completely, not just locking it, but shutting it down entirely. I sat there in silence, listening to my apartment, half expecting to hear something. Footsteps, movement, anything that could explain what was happening. There was nothing. Eventually, I convinced myself there had to be some kind of explanation. A glitch, maybe. Some kind of app interference or delayed messages lining up in a way that made it seem worse than it was. After a while, I turned the phone back on. The messages were still there, but nothing new came in. Not for about an hour. Then it buzzed again. The message said I had left. That feeling came back instantly, heavier this time. I hadn't told anyone I turned my phone off. I hadn't posted anything, hadn't changed locations. I hadn't even moved from the couch. And yet somehow, it knew. I stood up and walked to the front door, checking the lock even though I already knew it was secure. I looked through the peephole. There was no one there. The hallway was empty, completely still. I went back and sat down, trying to think logically, trying to force the situation into something that made sense. Maybe someone I knew was messing with me. Maybe they had access to something, my phone activity, my apps, but none of that explained how they knew what I was typing before I even sent it. Then my phone buzzed again. It said I was thinking too much. I didn't respond. I didn't move. I just stared at the screen as the messages kept coming, one after another, like they were reacting to every thought I had. Then it told me to look behind me. I couldn't do it. I sat completely still, staring at the screen while my heart pounded so hard I could hear it. The room felt different all of a sudden, like something had changed without me seeing it happen. Another message came in, pointing out that I hadn't looked. Then another, saying that was okay. I stayed exactly where I was, refusing to turn around, refusing to give in to it. I don't know how long I sat there like that, barely breathing, waiting for something to happen. Then the last message came through. It said it could wait. I didn't stay there much longer after that. I grabbed my keys and left the apartment without thinking about anything else. I didn't pack anything, didn't turn off the lights. I just needed to get out. I stayed at a friend's place that night and barely slept. The next day I went back. Everything looked normal. Nothing was out of place. I changed my number that same day. Deleted everything I could think of. I didn't take any chances. And for a while, that was enough. But every now and then, usually late at night when I'm on my phone, typing out a message, I catch myself slowing down, hesitating, because there's always that thought sitting in the back of my mind, wondering if something is still watching the screen and just waiting for me to finish typing. This happened recently, and I still check my phone sometimes to make sure it didn't come back. It started with something small, just a typing indicator. I was sitting at home scrolling through my phone when I got a notification from an unknown number. When I opened it, there was no message waiting for me, just those three dots. They would appear, disappear, then come back again, like someone was trying to say something but couldn't decide what. That alone was strange, because I hadn't texted this number first. There was no reason for them to be there at all. I waited watching the screen, and eventually the typing stopped. A few seconds later, a message came through asking if this was still me. No name, no explanation, just that. I replied asking who it was, and almost immediately the typing bubble came back. It stayed longer this time, like they were writing something detailed, but when the message finally appeared, it was short. They said I had changed it. That didn't make much sense, so I asked what they meant. The response came quicker this time. They said I had changed my number. That's when I started paying more attention. People don't usually phrase it like that. It felt off, like they were talking about it from the wrong perspective. I asked who they were trying to reach, expecting them to realize they had the wrong number. But instead, they told me this used to be mine. I remember reading that message more than once, trying to figure out what they meant. I told them I'd had the number for years, thinking that would end it, but after a pause, they replied again, this time saying I hadn't. At that point, it stopped feeling like a simple mistake. There was something about the way they were texting. No jokes, no confusion, just quiet certainty. I asked them what they were talking about, and they hesitated before replying, like they weren't sure how much to say. Then they asked if I really didn't remember. That question hit me harder than it should have. I asked them to explain, and that's when they said the number used to belong to them, that I got it after they stopped using it, after something happened. They never tried to make it sound scary. That was the worst part. It didn't feel like someone messing with me. It felt like someone stating facts. I asked what happened, and they paused again before answering, like they were deciding whether I was ready to hear it. Then they said I still didn't remember. At that point, I didn't know what to say anymore, so I asked the simplest thing I could think of, who they were. The reply came instantly. They said it was me. Then a second later, they added one word. Before, I didn't respond to that. I just stared at the screen, trying to force it into something logical, but nothing about it made sense. I told them to stop, and that's when they told me to check my old messages. I didn't want to, but I did anyway. I went into my messages and started scrolling back, expecting to find nothing. At first, everything looked normal. Conversations with friends, family, random everyday stuff. But the further back I went, the more something started to feel off. There was a gap, a clean break where nothing existed. No messages, no calls, nothing sent or received for almost 3 weeks. I just stared at it, trying to remember anything from that time, but there was nothing clear. Just vague fragments that didn't really connect to anything. Then another message came through. They told me that was when it happened. I asked what they meant, but I already had a feeling I wouldn't like the answer. After a pause, they said that was when they stopped. That was the last part of the conversation that felt real. The final message they sent told me not to lose it again. After that, the chat went completely silent. I tried calling the number, but it didn't even ring. It just failed instantly, like it didn't exist. I checked the messages again, still there, still exactly the same. Eventually, I locked my phone and tried to convince myself it was some kind of glitch or someone messing with me in a very elaborate way. But that gap in my phone, That part wasn't fake. I don't remember those 3 weeks, not properly, and when I asked a few people about it later, they said we talked during that time, but none of them had any messages saved either. The next morning, I couldn't find the conversation. It's been deleted. It could be me. I don't remember doing it. I don't know what to think anymore. The whole thing creepy as hell.